Hey guys, I'm Ben and welcome to another episode of Underground Reviews. Hailing from northwest England, Xentrix, who were formed in 1985 by guitarist Chris Astley, are regarded as one of the best acts to come out of the British thrash scene in the 80s. Mixing a high level of technical proficiency with memorable riffs and hook-filled songwriting, Xentrix made a pretty big impact on the underground. Their debut album, Shattered Existence, which is a personal favorite of mine, is regarded as an underground classic and was loaded with power and precision. Even though Xentrix never really broke through to the mainstream in a big way, their videos did receive quite frequent rotation on MTV's Headbangers Ball. The band also courted some controversy over their cover of Ray Parker Jr.'s Ghostbusters theme, having used the official logo on the original cover art, which, got them into a bit of hot water, forcing a change in that cover art. After the album Kin in 1992, Xentrix disbanded, and while they had a few personnel changes and attempts at re-emerging over the years, the comeback only finally materialized with 2019's Bury the Pain. To date, the only original members are guitarist Christian Harvard and drummer Dennis Gasser. With Chris Astley long gone from the lineup, he was ultimately replaced by singer and guitarist Jay Walsh, who's taken up the important role of frontman. Handling the bass duties on this latest as well as the previous release is Chris Shires. This saw the reconstituted lineup team up with now legendary producer Andy Sneap to breathe life back into the beast. Now, 3 years later, they are back and once again teamed up with Andy Sneap to deliver up their 7th studio album, 7 Words. The Xentrix sound has always reminded me of a slightly more technical version of Metallica circa And Justice for All era. I know every band gets compared to Metallica by the casual punters, but I actually mean that of all the thrash bands that came out of that era, Xentrix specifically sounded most like the kings of thrash themselves. Very similar riff style to Hetfield's, and even the vocal delivery by Chris Astley was extremely similar. What's interesting is that even with the new members, especially Jay on vocals, that intonation and delivery remains reminiscent of that era of Metallica. It's even been said by others in the press that they are the British Metallica. Personally, it never bothered me too much because Xentrix does it so well. In fact, I would say I wish Metallica had continued writing music of Xentrix's high level of skill and heaviness. Bury the Pain saw the band return to their powerful, hard-hitting roots, reminiscent of their classic albums, Shattered Existence and For Whose Advantage. So do 7 Words live up to that excellent comeback album? I would say it absolutely does. 7 Words opens with the excellent 1-2 punch of Behind the Walls of Treachery and into the first single and title track, 7 Words. Both tracks immediately hook you in with killer thrash riffing and memorable vocals. Of course, as always, Christian does a great job lighting up the fretboard with his solos too. Next, Spit Coin opens with a cool dual harmonized guitar line, which is also a kind of reoccurring trait throughout the album and used very effectively. The Metallica vibe is strong in the chorus, but it's still awesome. The Altar of Nothing follows and mixes again the Metallica vibe with a bit of modern Creator as well, specifically in the fact that they're able to create aggressive yet very hooky music. They aren't doing anything different really from Bury the Pain or even that different from their classic albums, yet they do it so well that it just goes for the throat and it doesn't let up. Next, you've got the song Everyone Loves You When You're Dead. And it sounds like it could be, a lost track straight from And Justice for All. But don't get me wrong, even though Xentrix has always been somewhat derivative and are easily compared to Metallica, they are, however, even heavier and truer to thrash. And they do it so well that the enjoyment factor, really isn't affected at all. Anyway, next you've got Reckless with a Smile, which is another fast-paced thrasher and comes out swinging, but also has a bit of a classic heavy metal vibe in the verses, which is cool, It has this cool thing with the guitar riff, which sort of acts as a call and response answer to the vocal line. It's very cool. Next, you've got the song Ghost Tape Number 10, which really feels like they've conjured up the ghost of Hetfield again. But again, it's really cool. It's, imagine it's like hearing what Metallica would have been like if they'd stayed heavy and awesome. Next, you got My War, and that does have more of a departure in the beginning with almost sort of synth-like guitar effects, I assume. However, once the song kicks in, you're in familiar territory again. Kill and Protest is probably the heaviest track on 7 Words, with some great heavy riffing and Jay aggressively barking some killer vocals. When the dual guitars kick in after the solo, it's very tasty. And finally, Anything But the Truth, which is the album closer, opens with some more sort of melancholic, clean guitars and string arrangements before exploding into the thrash attack again. Again, like several times throughout the album, I get a bit of a Creator's Mille Petrosa vibe from Jay's vocals. In the sense, the way he's able to bark in a melodic way very effectively. This is more of a mid-paced track as well and leans into some more epic moments to flesh it out. On the CD version, they also have a bonus track, Alice Cooper's $1 Billion Babies. Gets the thrash treatment, and even though I still prefer the original, they do a great job making it a Xentrix song, and it sounds great too. The production is exactly what you'd expect from Andy Sneap. Heavy, full, modern, and clean, which is somewhat frustrating because at times it does sound a little too modern and clean with Andy. He definitely has a sound. Personally, I like my thrash a little more old school sounding, a little more rough around the edges. However, that's really a small gripe because overall 7 Words is a very solid, entertaining, and kick-ass album. For fans of Xentrix, it'll be a welcome addition, and for those who haven't heard them before, it's a fine entry point into their excellent catalogue. Anyway, how would I rate this one? I would happily give this one a solid, respectable 8 out of 10. Anyway, guys, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Stay metal, and see you next time.